Hey guys, my name's Frank and this is my workshop. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to start on the bulldozer build. So there's some preliminary work that I need to do to get the frames ready. If you watch the video I put out a couple of months ago, which was the initial design video for the Cadet bulldozer, I determined that to scale this bulldozer to a D10 Cat, which is the model, so this will be a miniature version with the, of course, Cadet appearance. The distance between the center line of the front drive and the rear drive axles is 54 inches. So it turns out that the Cadet frame, and this is a frame from a 1450. So I bought this for $100. It has the ported hydrostat. So these auxiliary ports provide hydraulic fluid at 600 psi and about 1 or 2 GPM. So this will give me the hydraulics needed. I won't need to install a separate hydraulic pump. At least at this point I don't think I'll need to. My motor grader, and you can look at the videos on my channel of the motor grader, all use those same ports off the hydrostat for hydraulics to drive all the hydraulic cylinders, all the hydraulic functions. So I think it'll be fine since I'm not using hydraulics to drive the tracks. I'm going to use the Cadet axles to drive the tracks with the hydrostatic transmissions. So I have one in the front and one in the rear. And for more details on how that is set up and expected to work, you can look at the video, the design video for the Cadet bulldozer that is on my channel. So in order to build the bulldozer, I need a frame which will support a pair of axles 54 inches on center. All right, and as it turns out, that's a fortuitous number because this frame will, taking 2 frames, I'll be able to do that. So looking at this frame, the distance, you'll notice that the frame spreads out right here. So on this line, this is a quiet line tractor built in probably 76 or between 76 and 78. You'll notice that the frame splays out on both sides. Now that particular construction started with the wide frame tractors in 72 to accommodate a 14 horsepower Kohler engine which had a larger diameter flywheel housing and didn't fit between the narrow frame that was on earlier tractors. So they widened the front of the frame, and so hence the term wide frame tractor. Now the frame here is also taller so than on the narrow frame tractors. But in any case, if I cut the frame right here where it starts to widen, I get about 28 inches to the center line of this rear axle. So if I take another Cadet frame, same size, cut it right here, turn it around and weld it on here, the distance between the 2 axle points will be the required 54 inches. So that's my plan, will be to cut this frame right here, and I have another tractor, similar design, a later model, that'll also be cut in the same place, and it'll turn its frame around, and we'll weld the two together. So in order to do that, I need to remove a bunch of stuff here. So I've sprayed all the nuts and stuff that I need to take off with the Aero Croil. You know, I just got this a couple months ago. I've been using PB Blaster for decades, or WD-40, and so we'll see. So that'll allow me to break the nuts loose without, you know, twisting them off, hopefully. And we'll start taking this apart to the point where we can cut the frame. So we're going to strip it down to the frame. I may leave this dash tower on here because I'm going to need a dash tower for the controls, though I won't need the steering wheel. So the steering wheel and the steering gear needs to come out. This is the spool valve for the and it's frozen. It's frozen in here. This is a spool valve to operate this hydraulic cylinder, which raises and lowers the lift on the tractor. So I'm afraid this is probably toast. I'll wind up taking it off and maybe clean it and see what we can do. But most of this is going to come out, and then we'll take the front axle off and we'll cut the frame. One of the most frustrating things to do on these old Cub Cadets is remove the steering wheel. This one being a late 70s tractor, it shouldn't be as bad as some of the 60s tractors. Alright, so that nut was loose. Alright. So, with this nut loose, alright, the steering wheel is splined to the steering shaft, which is hollow. So you want to be careful you don't, if you're going to reuse this, you want to be careful you don't damage the threads on here. This is a 15/16 nut. It's a 5/8 inch fine thread on it. First thing to do is to thread the nut. Once you got it loose, thread it back on, but not all the way, and pulling up on the steering wheel, give it a little whack. See if that helps. See if that works. Alright, it's not coming off. Alright, so if tapping on the nut doesn't work, the next step is to take a bolt, 3/8 inch bolt, some washers, make sure the nut's loose, pile that on there, and give that a try. Oh, so we may have it here. Let's see, I think we got it. There we go. So that worked. You may have to, if you have an older tractor than this, a 60s vintage or early 70s, you know, and depending on how it's been housed, you know, how much rust is on this spline nut combination. All right, so we got the steering wheel off. Let's pull the whole steering assembly out. All right, the last thing I did was undo the linkage between this control arm, which controls the speed control for the hydrostat, and where it connects to this speed control, which is frozen up, by the way. Anyway, so undid that. It's the last thing holding the dash tower to the frame. Let's pry up these little clips that hold the wiring. Alright, so the whole wiring harness should come off with the tower. The whole wiring harness should come off with the tower. All right, so 3 out of 4 came off. so that's more wire clip here. All right. And that's it. The dash tower is off. All right, so this gives us a better view of the frame. This is the lift arm. We're going to have to take that off. We'll lose that. We'll lose this front step on both sides. There's a like a pan here that has a couple small bolts, so we'll remove that. Got a couple of old engine mounts. We'll take them out. So we basically clean up everything we don't need and get down to the point where we can cut this frame. And what I'm looking at now, potentially, let me show you something. I'm looking at this cross member here. It has a bump out at an angle for the steering gearbox, but this may, being that this is welded in place between the two frame halves, I may be able to use this to assist attaching the other frame, because I'm basically going to cut this frame right here in front of that point, and the other one in the same spot. I'm going to turn it around, can bolt these two cross members together, give some extra rigidity to the frame before we weld the frame rails together. So we'll look at that when we get the other tractor in here, get it stripped down to this same condition, then we'll cut the frames and put them back together. Now we need to take these two lines off the hydrostat that went to the lift valve. And remember, this one is the hydrostat output. All right, one of the last things we need to do is take off this dust shield. It's already loose at the other side here. Looks like that it broke and the screw came out over here. The pan itself broke over there. Couple 3/8 inch Hey guys, still working on the first part of the dozer build, which is getting the two Cub Cadet frames disassembled so that we can combine them and build the frame for the dozer. This is the 1450 frame that we were just working on, and I just pulled into the shop a model 1210. It has a lot of the same features as the 1450 up to this point. The frames are similar. After this, the frames are quite different. Some of these must have had, and I'm not that familiar with this line of tractors. This is the same kind of engine that's in the 1450. It has a little different arrangement because it's got a fuel pump, but it's the same Kohler single cylinder engine, and but the frame here is spread out a lot more than on the 1450, and that must be for handling larger engines. And I think this frame also accommodated a twin cylinder engine. But from here back, the frame on this tractor is very similar to the 1450, and this of course is the section of frame from here back that we're interested in. As you can see, the seat is toast on here, but it's got basically the same fender pan arrangement. The transaxle is different on these. It is aluminum as opposed to cast iron, so we're not going to use the rear axle here. We'll probably use these wheels and tires as partway through the build to support the frame and maybe test out the drive system before we put tracks on it. But in any case, so this is the second donor tractor. This is not an International Harvester built machine. It's a Cadet Corporation machine. And you can see the logo here says it's a CCC, so Cadet Corporation. So this is after International Harvester spun off the Cadet line in around 1980 or 81. So, okay. Going to take this apart, take this down to the same condition that the 1450 frame is in, and get working on it. All right. All right, so I've got the second donor tractor here. I've been working on it. Remove the hood and grill and fenders, seat, exposed the frame and the dash tower. I have unbolted the engine, so I'm getting ready to pull the engine out. So let's do that. All right, so that's the dash and the wiring harness. We have the drive shaft, remove that. This lift, we'll remove that. And I may do some of that off camera. I'll bring you guys back. All right, got that done. All right, we didn't need those step supports. I'm going to leave this on for the time being. It's the brake and the hydro neutral. When you press on it, it puts the hydro in neutral. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. So rather than cut it off or spend 2 hours trying to remove it, I'm going to leave it for the time being. I'm going to cut the frame here, so it may be in my way. We'll have to see. If it turns out to be in my way, cutting the frame, then I may just have to remove it. It's got 4 roll pins that would need to be driven out. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to hit them with some penetrating oil, just in case I do need to remove them in the future. All right. Meanwhile, I'm going to grind this nub flat. All right, so I'm at the point I've got both of the donor frames stripped to basically just the rear transmission. This one still has a brake pedal on it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but everything else has been stripped from the frame. We don't need to worry about the stuff up front because I'll probably save the axle and the wheels and the tires. I may be able to reuse them on another tractor. Anyway, so the frame is going to get cut, approximately right here, same place on the other frame. Then we'll turn this one around and weld the 2 frames together. Now that'll give us the wheelbase we need. We're not going to use this transmission. This is an aluminum housing transaxle that came into use after Cub Cadet Corporation acquired the International Harvester Cub Cadet line. So we won't need that. I have one transaxle, hydro and transaxle here, and then we're going to use the one that came on this 1450. So this is the one that's got the auxiliary hydraulic ports. It's called a ported hydro, so that'll give us the hydraulics we need. And then of course this frame also will be cut right here. I've got a line drawn, so that's the approximate cut line. So this foot step support, I'll cut this off. I'll cut the one off on the other side. We'll cut the frames. I'll save the axles and wheels and tires. I mean, these are good tires. These tires are dry rotted. These aren't. These are shot pretty much. These rear tires are new almost. So these are good tires, and they're, you know, wide tires. So those are worth saving. And the wheels are in good shape. In the back wheels are in good shape. Front wheels a little rusty, but not bad. Rear wheels on here are in good shape. So we'll salvage some of that stuff. I've got the engine, 12 horsepower Magnum, Kohler Magnum 12 engine that came off of the 1210 tractor, and we got the dash tower. We're not going to use this. I think this is headed to the scrap. I may save the steering wheel. That could be used on pretty much any Cub Cadet. Plan is to use the dash tower that came off of the 1450, which is sitting over there, and we'll use that. And then we'll use the hood and front grille, either of the 1450 or of an earlier wide frame tractor. I'm tending toward the use of a wide frame tractor grille and front end, which would be similar to the 108, which is in another video on my channel. So that's where we are right now. That's the first step in getting the chassis stripped to the point where we can cut them and put them back together. So that'll be the next video. We'll cut the chassis, both of them, both frames in half, and well, not in half. We'll cut both frames and we'll weld them back together. Then we'll be pulling the transmission off this one, working on the other transmission that's going to go in it. We'll probably fit that up and go from there. All right. So that's it for this this video, part one of the Cub Cadet mini-dozer build. If you want to see what it's going to look like, or what I imagine it might look like when we're done, see the Cub Cadet dozer design video, which is up on my channel. If I think about it, I'll put a link up here in the, I guess up on this side, so you can check that out. All right, if you want to keep up with this build, be sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up and share the video if you have friends that are interested in this kind of stuff. That'd be great. It would help the channel out. That's it for now. We'll see you guys next time.